Hello YouTube, Redcoat's return here, and I'd like to talk about filters as I promised in some past videos. So I'm aiming at mainly those who do use filters, but also some non-filter smokers, pipe smokers may be interested in some of this information if they're thinking of trying filters out. Also, it might give an overview for newer pipe smokers as to at least what I've learned over the last couple of years or so. So I'll try to move fast so that it doesn't go too long, because there's quite a bit of information I want to pack into this video. So let's start here at this end. Everyone knows the Savinellis. These are balsa wood. I won't talk a lot about those. They're just for absorbing moisture. They will not absorb much in the way of tars. That's the 6mm version, that's the 9mm version. And there's a lot of channels where the smoke can move past these filters, so I didn't even find them particularly effective for moisture absorption. So that's a little bit my verdict on that one, and I've just indicated next to the filter if I really think, for me at least, and this is my personal view, and I think everybody's different, and but those are the reasons why I tend not to use these filters. Now, there's the smallest filter I found out there that you could get in terms of size is this Denicool 3mm paper filter. Now, paper filters are good at absorbing moisture. If you look at the end of them, they have a kind of interior where it's basically wicked. You see, there are pieces of paper crossing throughout the inside, and that wicks the moisture into the paper. And those work not bad. So there's the Medico filters right there, and Denicool also does a 6mm paper filter, this one here. And for just moisture, they're quite good. Now, of course, some people who use filters just want the moisture to get a drier, cooler smoke, and that's fine. But what they won't take out are the tars. One advantage is, of course, they don't tend to remove the flavour molecules. They let basically a lot of the tar through, but also a lot of the flavour. So some smokers do prefer to use these. These work pretty problem free. They've got like 5 or 6 layers of paper in them with a sort of waxy coat on the outside, which helps to get it out when it's finished. And they're relatively inexpensive, so I certainly think these are fine to use. The 3mm one, some people might say, well, what can you use that for? Well, I have about 10% of my pipes are non-filter, and you can, in some models, fit one of those in the hole in the stem, and it does draw okay, and you basically can get a slightly drier smoke that way. That's one trick. I'll come on to another one that you could use for a non-filter pipe if you still want to experiment, if you like, with filters, but your pipes are all this model. There are some solutions. That's one of them. So that's my Dracula Peterson pipe, which I bought because it was the only one in the shop, was a non-filter one, and the salesperson did say, well, you should have 1 or 2 non-filter pipes. So indeed I've got about 10%, which I like that. The corn cobs work nice with those paper filters, no problem. I did find there's a problem with corn cobs with the active charcoal ones, that they were getting soggy, and when I tried to pull them out, they would break off, and the ceramic caps would get jammed somehow in the bit. And this was really one of the irritations of 6mm filters, which I have about 20% of my collection. A lot of that is cobs, are 6mm filters, and I have more trouble with those than 9mm filters generally. That's my personal experience. Sometimes I'd had to drill out, for example, a little bit to make it a slightly looser fit. Everybody knows the good old Dremel. I just messed up my display, but never mind. The good old Dremel drill, and that's a good way to, if you like, very carefully loosen the fit a little bit here on the stem, or if there's some blocking wood fibers there at the bottom, to extend a little bit the size, because some people were telling me they have trouble with these filters when they get jammed up, or jammed up against something that's blocking them, and they can't get a good draw on it. So it's always worth looking in here and looking in here, and if you need to adjust it, and you just drill out a little bit very carefully, tap it out, and then try it again, but very carefully, because you don't want to overdo it. You basically just want to adjust it according to your needs. But that's one solution if you have problems with some 6mm filters. Now, let's move on to active charcoal and 6mm filters. So here I have what is the GG model, but this is the white elephant. Everybody knows these, with 5 or 6 layers of paper for the moisture, and the active charcoal here to absorb the tars. Now these work pretty good. They take the moisture out, the tars are absorbed here. The problem is, as I said, when I tried to take them out, they got very wet, and they seem to break much more easily than the 9mm filters. And I've had a lot of problems with these in 6mm. So I was looking for a solution, and the pipe smokers basically can turn to the cigarette smokers, who use these little short filters here, which are also 6mm, and they are also active charcoal, and they are in fact active charcoal made out of coconut, which actually, in my opinion, works better than this synthetic charcoal here, which looks like pencil lead. And if you look over here, let's just get a bit closer up. These irregular shaped pieces of charcoal are from coconut fibers, and the structure of the fibers is maintained in the charcoal, which gives a lot of surface area. That's basically the secret. So you get away with a shorter filter and less charcoal. The irregular shape, I think, helps also the passage of the smoke more efficiently. And with these ones, several people on YouTube have pointed them out. Rally Grufti, my friend who does German videos, but he has picked up on Giese 6mm filters, and I found these ones from Parisa. They're both the same basic design, and they work extremely well. I think you get a bit more flavor coming through. They're easier to remove. I mean, I've had to sometimes take a piece of wire, which is why I'm using this pointer here as a large paper clip that I've bent straight. And sometimes if they get a little jammed around the ceramic cap, you can poke them through the stem to get them out, and you can more or less bend this thing according to how you need to do in order to get it through. And it's a little bit awkward, but there, I'm already almost through there, thought you see. And you sometimes have to keep poking it a little bit to finally release, but these are much easier and much seldom you have that problem than with these longer ones from White Elephant. I really found them quite problematic. So that might be news to some of you, and it's very good. So I definitely go over a yes exclamation mark. I think that's a breakthrough. For me, I can use now my 6mm filters much more comfortably. I have tried the meerschaum filled 6mm. This won't absorb, of course, the tars, but should let more flavour through for that same reason and absorb the water more efficiently than just paper. But I found these ones choke up very quickly, and halfway through down the bowl I couldn't hardly get anything through it. They were overloaded. So the only way I can use this box now is to cut them open and take the meerschaum. What you can do is put it at the bottom of the bowl of the pipe to absorb some of the moisture. That's an alternative use, and you can buy meerschaum granules, Nording stones and other things like that, which try and do the same thing, and Shiro filt pads, which I will show you is my preference, to absorb the moisture that way at the bottom of the bowl rather than in a cartridge filter. So at least for me, I couldn't really get on with these ones in 6mm. But, and I come on to 9mm filters now, and I found 9mm filters to be much less worrisome, always work, easy to remove, never had a removal problem when they're spent. And they handle a large bowl of tobacco without any problem. So that's partly why most of my pipes, 80% of my pipes are, about 70% of my pipes are 9mm. And I normally use these ones from White Elephant. They work absolutely perfectly. These are ones with the synthetic charcoal in it, but they work very, very well. Never really had a problem. And the differences between the makes are a little bit more subtle. But when I tried the meerschaum one in 9mm, I found this works very well. There's a little bit of tar colour absorbed there, but not much. Again, it's removing the moisture, but I did notice more flavour gets through. So someone who doesn't like filters because of the loss of flavour or the modification of the flavour profile may consider to use these meerschaum filled 9mm filters, because I've tried them 3 or 4 times now. I do get more flavour through. Of course, then you're not filtering so well out the tars. So if your main reason is your preservation of health, or you just don't like those harshness of taste that comes with those tars and black material, you might want to stick with the active charcoal. So this poor little fellow here who got scattered all over the place, this is a new line from White Elephant, which is called Superflow, and I think what they've done is they've changed the charcoal more to this kind of coconut fibre charcoal here, which basically gives, they say, a much better flow, super flow, and to a certain extent more taste gets through. I've tried 1 or 2. It's a very subtle difference, I find, in this case with the activated charcoal version from them and other models of charcoal 9mm filter. For example, Dr. Pearl here or Stanwell. So I need to sort of try a lot more. There's not much difference. They basically work very well, just like these ones did. It might be that you might get a bit more flavour. I'll have to experiment more with those. They do have a new line called Superflow Mix, and Superflow Mix, I've just ordered some, I don't have them yet, takes a mixture of this type of coconut charcoal with meerschaum mixed into the cartridge. So that might be the perfect compromise for someone who doesn't want to lose too much taste but does want some kind of tar filtration with the active charcoal. So there's a lot of innovation going on in this field, which is great, and my compliments to COP, who are the company who make these white elephant filters, that they are listening and trying to make better filters all the time. Everyone knows this one, which is the Dr. Pearl. Of course, it has a plastic cap at one end and ceramic at the other, and you always put this blue one towards your face because otherwise it'll melt. Interestingly, it has 12 holes, so the hole in the cap, it has 12 perforations, more than the others. I found these to be very good. They are, I think, using the standard synthetic type of charcoal, but for a long time that was my favorite. Dr. Pearl, very, very good. Absolutely can recommend them. Until I tried Stanwell active charcoal filters, and there's one or two videos comparing filters who say yes, they think charcoal, the Stanwell charcoal filter is even better. It has a different cap design here. It has 6 perforations, but they're all cut across to link with each other, and I think this is the best one you can have for draw. It really is a very unimpeded draw going through here. So at the moment, that's my favorite. Who knows, it could change as I try maybe this mixed Superflow variation. We'll see. Anyway, what else can you do? So, there's a lot of different ways to filter different things out. So Denicool came up with these silicate crystals here, which you put at the bottom of the bowl of your pipe. You only need about 3 or 4 of them, and they will absorb moisture, and they do actually work. I actually notice you get a drier, better smoke, and they get very dark. So they absorb some tar. If I had the used ones here, they'd look very, very dark brown, the crystals. You tip it out with the ash at the end, you throw it away, what you've used. But a little tub like this can last you a lot of smokes. And they're pretty good. Definitely an alternative if that's what you think you would prefer to use. And 1 or 2 ideas I had with those is, yes, you could, if you have a very long channel here, you could actually put them the other side of the bowl, couldn't you? If that won't interfere with, you see, I've just put them basically down the end of the channel here, and you could either with or without a paper filter, you could put them take the paper filter out and just use the crystals. Obviously in this case I probably will have to do that, and they will absorb some of the moisture that way, or you can have them in the bottom of the bowl, either way. So if you have just unfiltered pipes, all I'm saying is there are ideas that you could experiment with if you wish to, and especially if you're just taking moisture out, I don't think it should really have much of a negative impact on your flavour. And I occasionally try these ones even with a filter, depending which filter I'm using. If I know I've got a very wet smoke or had problems to dry the tobacco, or it's a tongue bite type of tobacco, these can certainly help. Now, for anyone who's out there who has problems with tongue bite, and my tongue is, Briar Blues says he has a leather tongue, but I have the opposite. So I have to, this is why I use filters, because it does, for me, significantly reduce tongue bite and makes my smoke much more pleasant, and it's partly the steam, of course, but it's partly also the harshness of the tars and the phenolics, high molecular weight things in the smoke, and the filters really help me. So I think anyone who says, well, I tried pipe smoking but I couldn't get on with it, you certainly should try filters if you've got a tongue bite problem. So, and something in the same direction are these Shiro filter pads here. There's a couple of used ones here. Now you see these are beveled, and they basically sit at the bottom of your pipe like that. But because they're beveled like this, there's still air gaps around the sides of them. And that means that your little pocket of air that everyone is trying to achieve with packing the pipe with the 3-pinch method or the Frank method or whatever, that's already in there once you put this at the bottom of your pipe. And they literally, I've got 70 pipes and they fit all of them. They sit very comfortably there at the bottom with the flat surface on top, and they work very well. I must say I definitely get a drier smoke when I use these. And I think they take a little bit of tar. You see some coloration going through there. It's basically calcium sulfate in these filter pads. Somebody said to me, yeah, you could take a crayon of chalk and just grind it up and put that at the bottom of the bowl. Yeah, you could, but it might be rather messy when you want to get it out and mark, might leave some in there. It's definitely probably the cheapest way is to take some school chalk, grind it up, put it at the bottom of the bowl, and you might have the same effect. But these have been designed and made especially suitably for pipe smoking. As I said, that you get the nice air cavity because they're beveled, they sit stably at the bottom, they're probably manufactured to be nice and dry so that they can absorb the moisture. So I think it's worth the money. I mean, what do you pay for a filter? Well, it all depends on how many you buy. Somewhere between 5 cents, $1 and 20, if you just buy a few and if it's an expense. These I bought 500 of them, so 50 packs, because I use them almost on every smoke. You could say they're more suitable for aromatics, but I use them actually for all my smokes. I find that they all benefit. I tend to use them just once or twice. All the other filters I just use once, because I just find after a bowl or maximum a bowl and a half of standard size, they're saturated, they're spent, and if you try and use them again, you're kidding yourself. They just, I don't think, will work effectively. Some people use them 2 or 3 times. Personally, my experience for me, I found it's best to use a fresh filter every smoke. So it's always a question of how much are you sensitive to that, or is it okay if you spend up to 5, 10 or 15 or 20 cents on these filters. But if you buy larger quantities, it will tend to reduce them below the towards the 10-cent a filter sort of cost, or maybe even less if you buy these huge bags you can get. There are a lot of other makes, of course, of 9mm. Blitz does one. There's probably at least 10 other makes of these filters, but these are the ones I use that I've got experience with, and I know some people say there are differences between these other filters, and there are sort of ones from China and things like that. I think you just have to try them and make your own experience, and maybe have a look inside them to make a judgment. Anyway, trying to keep this not too long. I think the only thing I have not mentioned are these chaps over here. I tried with cigarette filters for 6mm as an alternative. Bought a packet of these. They would be definitely very cheap. 6mm, it says, actually they're about 5.8, and that's a bit the problem, that they tend to be rather loose depending on your bit, you see, yes, they fit here, but they come very loosely out, and they probably will move as you draw the air. They are not capped with ceramic, so you see they get charred. If you don't have a very long stem and bit, they get rather charred at one end from the hot smoke. And two of them I found the draw is too difficult, and one of them I found they get quite overloaded because really they're small. So that little experiment from me on these didn't really yield any fruit. I'm still thinking about, what else I could do here. And there are some 9mm filters, or 8mm actually, which I've ordered a small pack of to try out, which have active charcoal in the cellulose matrix, and for certain pipe bits, because they may swell up a bit as they absorb moisture, so 8mm might still eventually end up working in a 9mm pipe. I will try them out. I'm not that hopeful based on this experience, but I thought I would give it a try. As I said in previous videos, I tend to be the experimental scientist a little bit, trying different things out. Anyway, that's in a nutshell. I've really talked for too long. I hope you've learned a little bit about the filters and maybe some new alternatives that you can use if you're a filter user already, or if you're a non-filter user with non-filter pipes who thinks maybe I might try some variations. Anyway, thanks very much for looking in, and you have a great day. Cheers.